Welcome! In this video I'm going to be taking a look at this ORBLON brushless cordless chainsaw. So this was provided to me by the distributor, but they're not compensating me for this video and they're not reviewing it before I post it. If you find this video helpful and you want to purchase one of these, I'll put a link to it in the description on Amazon, and if you use that link it helps me out a little bit and doesn't cost you anything extra. So let's get this open. So here we have the chainsaw, but let's take a quick look at the manual. Now I'm not going to cover everything in this, you'll want to read through it on your own. So max cutting on this is 6 inches. It uses a 20-volt battery pack. The capacity of the battery is 1.5 amp hours. So a nice feature of this is that this is also compatible with the DeWalt batteries, and I'll be testing it with one of those. So if you're already in the DeWalt ecosystem, you can use your batteries you currently have with this chainsaw. So here are the different parts of the saw. So it has a lock on the trigger so you don't accidentally pull the trigger. This talks about lubricating the chain. It says they recommend lubricating it every 10 cuts. This talks about adjusting the chain tension. This talks about charging the battery. So it comes with a power brick and you plug it in the middle of the battery, and it has some troubleshooting. I'm not going to cover everything about how to properly use a chainsaw like this. And this isn't meant for cutting down trees and stuff. This would be more for like pruning and cutting up yard debris and such. So here we have that trigger. So when we pull on the trigger, it's locked. You have to push in on the safety to release the trigger. We have the motor over here, has a guard. There we have the chain. Let's see the tightness of it right there. Battery goes in the back. And here's the battery. Let's check the charge of it. So it looks charged. Plug that in. I'm just going to fire this up, see if it works. Okay, looks good. Pull the battery off. Here is the lube. So we'll need to cut the top off. Comes with a Phillips screwdriver. We have a little wrench here to loosen this. Comes with an extra chain. Here's a thumb screw. Looks like maybe the thumb screw goes here. Let's open this up to look inside anyway. Okay, so it looks like you can use the thumb screw or you can use the nut. Then if we pull this off here, we can see the bar and the gear or the drive. So I'll put that on. I'll put the nut back on. Let's check the tension. Looks good. Okay. Then we have the charger for the battery. And this outputs 21 volts at 0.5 amps. So let's try that. So we're currently charging at about 12.5 watts. So as I mentioned before, this works with DeWalt batteries. So here we have a DeWalt 2 amp hour battery. Slide that in. And there it's working with that battery. So let's head outside and test this out. Okay, so I'm out here at my yard waste bin, and I have this branch to cut up, and this is oak. Oftentimes I'll use like some loppers or something to cut this up, but this stuff can be real tricky to cut with loppers. This thing should cut through it very easily. So before I cut, I'll need to lube the chain. So I'll work that in a little bit. I'll give it a little more. Okay, so I have the ORBLON battery that came with it. So let's get this thing cut up. So we'll try some of these smaller ones. So that cut easy. So now let's cut some of these bigger ones. I cut through those very nicely. So I've used a reciprocating saw to cut up wood like this before. One of the problems is when you're cutting smaller stuff, it will just shake it instead of cutting it. Since this blade is only going in one direction, it tends to just cut until it cuts through. So that made quick work of that. Now I actually cut it way more than I needed to. I could have had a little bit longer pieces, but I'm testing this out. So now let's try this on some bigger logs. Okay, so I have this birch log here. It's probably 3.5 to 4 inches. So let's try cutting through this.
cut through it very nicely. So when you rock it back and forth a little bit, it helps clear those chips out. So we've been using the ORBLON battery. Let's swap it over to that DeWalt battery. See how that works. That cuts very, very smooth. Let's do another cut here. There we go.
So that's the ORBLON 20-volt brushless cordless chainsaw. I just noticed the chain here is getting a little bit loose, so I'd want to tighten that up. And that is something to consider, is you want to make sure you're regularly lubing the chain and making sure it's tight, because it will loosen up as you use it. Now, I've done lots of pruning and cutting up yard waste with hand tools, and I much prefer using a power tool. A chainsaw like this makes it really easy. It's super lightweight, easy to use. I really like that this can use the DeWalt batteries. Maybe you have a big storm come through and you have a bunch of branches and such in your yard. You can pull out your DeWalt batteries and the little chainsaw, and you can help clean the stuff up. Even if you have a larger chainsaw, you can have one person working the larger chainsaw with the really thick stuff, and then another person using this to cut up the smaller branches and twigs and such. I think a chainsaw like this could also be handy for camping, maybe from the back of your car or in an RV. You might have other power tools you carry in your RV, and you have this little chainsaw with you. You can use it to cut up branches and such for your fire. So if you're looking for a small portable chainsaw, I think this can be a great option. That's all I'm going to cover in this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you like this video, please click like. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate it if you could do that. And thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.